How's it going, everybody? I've got some more magic for you here today with an Orzhov Zombie deck. I will say this deck is only lightly a zombie deck. We do have things like the Embalmed Ascendant, Zahor, and the Curse Cloth wrapping so that all of our creatures can become zombies. But the primary focus of this deck is actually an Orzhov Control deck that emphasizes on exile so that you can get pretty significant use out of Ketramos. It's very fun to utilize Ketramos, and the best way to do that is in this sort of a creature control style of deck. So that's why it's kind of split between the two. I did still do a light synergy with zombies, which can even incorporate Ketramos when you take things into consideration like Curse Cloth wrappings, because any of our creatures can become zombies, which is good, because Ketramos can still be dealt with. If you only have Ketramos out on the battlefield and are forced to sacrifice it, that's a possibility. It can also be exiled by things like Anoint with Affliction, so it is possible to deal with Ketramos, but if it does end up in your graveyard, whether you've discarded it, milled it, or it's been sacrificed or killed in some manner, minus abilities can also work, then you can get it back with Curse Cloth wrappings. It'll get a +1/+1 to it for being a zombie, and it will be another creature exiled toward the Ketramos ability as well. So all very nice there. Like I said, we do have Zahor. We're not going to be making much use out of the sacrifice ability. I mean, it's possible that we could, because we do have zombies being created once we have max speed from Zahor, and then we also have the Embalmed Ascendant, which also has Start Your Engines, also creates 2/2 black zombie creature tokens, and also has a max speed ability of whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. It could be relevant. We do also have spirit tokens that we're going to be getting from Kaya's Spirit's Justice, creating 1/1 flying white and black spirit creature tokens. So that synergizes fairly well with the Embalmed Ascendant, and since the Embalmed Ascendant's 2/2 zombie creature tokens, Zahor's 2/2 creature tokens, and Kaya's 1/1 spirit tokens are all tokens, it doesn't really matter if they get killed because we can always get more of them, especially if we do something like use our Curse Cloth wrappings to bring back an Embalmed Ascendant and then get it with another 2/2 zombie creature token spawning. So very nice synergies there. We can also get things with Ghost Vacuum, so if these end up in our graveyard, we can snatch them with Ghost Vacuum, and that counts as more things being exiled, but then also we can crack the vacuum later to get all of them back as 1/1s and still get their benefits, such as the zombies from this, the zombie from this. So actually pretty fun. Let's see here. We do have Elspeth's Smite. Our main purpose in this deck is going to be exiling, so all of our removal is going to focus around that. We have Elspeth's Smite so that we can deal 3 damage and exile a creature if it would die. Dreams of Steel and Oil. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose an artifact or creature card from it, then choose an artifact or creature card from their graveyard and exile the chosen cards. The reason I'm using this instead of the new one that allows you to take a creature or vehicle is because this also lets you take something from the graveyard. So if they already have a creature in the graveyard and you play this, you can get something from the graveyard as well as their hand. So that's pretty nice, and it still hits vehicles because vehicles are artifacts. We've got Anoint with Affliction. Pretty fantastic removal regardless. Hits anything with mana value 3 or less. We're not playing off the poison, so we don't get the corrupted value, but this is a really fantastic removal card, especially right now. We've got Perilous Snare, which hits anything. It doesn't have to be a creature. It could be a vehicle. It could be an enchantment. It could be an artifact. It could be a planeswalker. So this thing's really fantastic. And then with the Start Your Engines benefit as well, we also have the max speed tap to put a 1/1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. It can only be used as a sorcery in that manner, but really fantastic upside to it, in my opinion, for one of these kind of exile cards that stays on the battlefield. We've got The End. Really important card, in my opinion. You can completely remove a creature or planeswalker from your opponent's library, graveyard, and hand, as well as getting one of them off the battlefield if there's one already there. So you can exile potentially up to 4 cards with this 1 card use, and if you're low on health already, it'll only cost 2 mana, the 2 black. So really good card, really good to feed the exile for Ketramos. Really good for removing big threats from your opponent. Really fantastic. Like I said, we do have Kaya Spirit's Justice. Whenever one or more creatures you control and or creature cards in your graveyard are put into exile, you may choose a creature card from among them until end of turn. Target token you control becomes a copy of it, except it has flying. So if you have exiled something like Ketramos or Zahur or anything like that, then you can make your flying spirit tokens turn into that. So honestly, having it be able to become Ketramos is pretty fantastic in my opinion, because Ketramos has Menace and Lifelink as well, so that's really nice if you can get a way to do that, which should be easy with Curse Cloth Wrappings and Ghost Vacuum. And then the +2 ability, Surveil 2, then exile a card from your graveyard, or from a graveyard, could also hit your Ketramos or any of your other things. And then +1, create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying, and -2, exile target creature you control. For each other player, exile up to 1 target creature that player controls. So essentially, you pick one of your creatures, exile it, and exile your opponent's creature. Can be really relevant. All of these abilities synergize very well with making other things potentially become Ketramos. So you can get more of them. It's really, really hard to deal with in that way once you have that going. We've got Ride's End. I'm only running it as a 2-of, but this is a really good removal as well. It's a 5-cost instant at base, but it costs 3 less to cast if it targets a tapped permanent, and you can exile a creature or a vehicle. So really good. It helps us get rid of our bigger opponent creatures that can't necessarily be hit with Anoint or Elspeth Smite. So fantastic there. And honestly, most of the time it's only going to be a 2-drop, so that's pretty good. We've got Deadly Cover-Up. Obviously, a board wipe's important. This board wipe does not hit our Ketramos, which is fantastic, because that's primarily why we're using it instead of Sunfall, is we can wipe the board and still keep Ketramos out on the field. And then you can still use this to feed into exile, not only by exiling things from your own graveyard, but exiling things from your opponent's library in the same, or library graveyard in hand, the same way that the end does. So really good exile synergy here with pretty much everything we've got. And then finally, we have Kaya Intangible Slayer. It is a very expensive planeswalker that is very hard to get out on the battlefield unless you're in that late game, but this is a creature control style of deck, so you should be able to get to that late game. It has hexproof, so it's extremely hard to deal with. You can't get rid of it with Deadly Cover-Up or the End or any other kind of removal. Bitter Triumph, nothing like that works on it. You have to actually attack this Planeswalker to get rid of it. It has a +2, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life. A 0, you draw 2 cards, then each opponent may scry for 1, and a -3, exile target creature or enchantment. If it wasn't an aura, create a token that's a copy of it, except it's a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying in addition to its other types. So we do have some spirits in here between the 2 Kayas, but this is pretty much an undead horde. This will be a very fun and fairly synergistic deck that I think is pretty fun. If I'm not mistaken, the Ghost Vacuum also creates spirits. Yeah, whatever comes back is also a spirit in addition to its other types with the Ghost Vacuum. Land base is pretty standard. We've got a couple of the new Bleachbone Verge with a couple of shadowy backstreets. A couple of Restless Fortresses. I wouldn't be upset if you drop this down to 2 rather than 3. Matter of fact, I'm going to do that right here and right now. I'm going to do that just so that, because we've got so many tap lands here between these two, you do still want Restless Fortress, but I think 3 is just a bit too much. We've got Demolition Field to take out our opponent's lands, can be really relevant if they have man lands that we need to get rid of, like Restless Fortress. And then we've also got Fountain Port. You can create spirit tokens. We constantly have, so we have spirit tokens, we have zombie tokens. We can get tokens back from turning these into tokens from Curse Cloth Wrappings. And we can create the fish token or create treasure tokens. So this is a very good card in this deck as well, because we do have a lot of tokens to play off of if we want to draw cards or create fish or whatever we need to do. This is a traditional standard deck, though I'll only be playing best of 1. So I do have a best of 3 sideboard set up here, a little bit of more broad strokes removal. We've got Duress for more control matchups that aren't playing artifacts. Get Lost for things where you're running up against more enchantments and things like that rather than creatures. Split Up if you need a faster board wipe than Deadly Cover-Up. This can help you kind of get rid of the board on those really aggressive decks. Similarly, Pest Control, destroy all non-land permanents with mana value 1 or less. This is primarily going to be your deck for playing up against like mono white, Orzhov tokens, you know, whatever kind of token deck they're playing. If they're playing artifact tokens, any of those kinds of things, Pest Control is really going to help against that. And then we've got Spectacular Pileup, which is really nice too as a board wipe, but has the added benefit of also hitting vehicles, and then you also it does get rid of Indestructible. So if your opponent's playing something like Ketramos or one of the other god cards, it can hit them, and it also has a cycling for 2. So this is a good sideboard that you may potentially need instead of Deadly Cover-Up in some matchups. But anyway, there's a pretty broad stroke sideboard that helps hit other things. Obviously, we're not too scared of graveyard decks because we've already got Ghost Vacuum and some other stuff main board here. Yeah, but this is a deck that took me a little while to tweak. I think it's in a pretty good state here. I wanted to do some different things with it, but honestly, this control style of deck is the best way that I could figure out how to use it. I'm going to go ahead and go for 3 wins with it like I normally do, playing best of 1. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. We've got land, which is pretty good. I think I'm okay with keeping this, even though we're not going first. Clockwork Percussionist. We're playing up against a fairly aggressive creature deck, which I'm actually happy about. This is probably Rakdos Sacrifice or something along those lines. Was tempted to keep that for more white mana, but I think it's fine. Another Percussionist. In this case, I'll probably do Dreams and then Elspeth Smite. Lava Spur Boots is weird. No creatures left in hand, which is unusual, to say the least. And his mana sucks. Like, he's actually really struggling for decent land. Demolition Field's pretty annoying, but as long as we get a white land, it's fine. I think he did that more for himself than anything, because he was just so bad needing and like, he's got 1 pain land for both colors and then 2 colorless lands, which is actually silly. So we won't be targeting that one, which is fine. Could target it next turn. Pay 1. Yeah, pay 1. Let's just go ahead and get rid of it and get him off of anything usable. Got no value out of his Percussionist because we're playing Exile, which is really nice. He could blow up my Fountain Port? Okay. That's fine. I'm gonna go for another white. And then now we've got another swamp in hand that we can utilize. Probably play Kaya next. Well, I don't know. As long as he's got... Yeah, let's not do that, actually. Let's do the Ascendant, just so that we can start getting things like the Edict out of his hand. Before we lean into playing like a Planeswalker. Because he'll probably use the Edict to forcibly get rid of my Ascendant. Yeah, it's exactly what I thought he would do. Which is totally fine. Because now to use the Eaten Alive, he's either going to have a significant amount of a mana to invest or another creature. And if he plays a creature that he could sacrifice, I can snare it. Okay, he did not. And I don't care to snare anything, so let's start with Kaya, and maybe he gets rid of it, maybe he doesn't. Go ahead and create our Spirit. he has another Edict, that'll be disappointing. He sure did. That's crazy. Well, did what we could to try and reduce the odds of that happening. Can only do so much. If he goes to the trouble of using an Eaten Alive on a zombie token, I'll die laughing. Like, that is such a poor use of that if he goes for that. Especially knowing that I use... oh yeah, Ketramos too. Because he could exile my Ketramos. And I don't have any way to get it out of his hand other than just waiting. So I think for right now, I don't even want to do anything. I'm just going to attack. Hold back what we've got. Ghost Vacuum is one thing, but then we couldn't do the end. The end may not matter, but I think it's more valuable than like Perilous snaring a Swiftfoot boots or Lava Spur boots or whatever. Yeah, just keep him on nothing. That's, I think, exactly how we are going to win this. Because if we play out the Ketramos, there's a chance that he could pay high mana to just exile it with Eaten Alive, or even have a creature to play and then sack. So I think we're way better off just holding it back for now. Can deal 2 damage with that. We can snare that. I don't mind snaring that. So with that being said, I think going Ghost Vacuum and Perilous Snare on this turn is going to be a good choice. Yeah, I really don't care about your boots, dude. And then at the end of his turn, we'll go with Ghost Vacuum and start exiling things. Okay, he has another Extruder. Interesting. I don't really mind. Ketramos is in some danger here, which is a little annoying. Let's go ahead and just eat something from his graveyard then. I don't care what. Get a little bit of progress towards Ketramos. Land is honestly not what we wanted to see here. So next we're going to just have to wait and see. I don't want to play Ketramos into being exiled for nothing. So he's sacking his boots to create a creature. Fair. I could get rid of it with the end, but that would be pretty pointless. That I'm cool with getting rid of with the end, because then it prevents it from coming back at all. Furnace Reigns is an interesting play. Look at his deck. He's got Rankle's Prank, so he does have sacrifice effects, or work scavengers to exile things. He can get rid of artifacts as well. Interesting deck. Does he have anything in here I want to get rid of? Not terribly. Okay, well let's go with Ketramos. Mostly just because I want to get it out at this point. We'll see if there's any additional value I can get from it, because he could Furnace Reigns it, but it can't attack. He can't sack it because it's not an artifact. He could sacrifice it for an Eaten Alive, or sacrifice his token for an Eaten Alive, but I don't really care. Yeah, that's... you're not... you can't attack with it. Whatever. And now you can't sacrifice it. Or well, maybe you can to sacrifice it to I mean, it's pointless. It's just entirely pointless. He took it so that he could sacrifice it, is essentially all he's really gained from this. Let's see if he even figures that out. Man, he just gave up. Anyway, there's a game one. We actually got to utilize some of our removal effectively this time, getting rid of the Clockwork Percussionists and things like that. He did have a token deck still, but he just didn't have the gas he needed to do things. Like I said, his best bet here was still using the Eaten Alive to sacrifice this creature, which would have gotten it off the board. But that's kind of all it would have done, and then I would have had targets I could hit with my Deadly Cover-Up, and I potentially can get Ketramos back with Curse Cloth Wrappings or even just drawing another one. So I wasn't too concerned. Opponent goes first, and honestly this looks pretty terrible, but I'm going to just keep it anyway, I don't care. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I can draw one land and get Zahur out fairly early. We'll see. If not, then I can go till I get Demolition Field online and then try using it. The main thing is we've got the Courtyard with Elspeth's Smite, which is probably going to matter if we're up against a creature deck at all. Which we're probably not. Oh, it's Pixie. So Pixie deck. Very strange of them to play turn 1 Pixie, though, because you obviously want to use that to return one of your obnoxious enchantments. Yeah, so we just smite that. Maybe his plan was to return the Pixie to his hand later. Hard to say. Go ahead and go here, though, with Shadowy Backstreet. I do want more land, so I'll keep it. Bouncing Ketramos back to our hand is another annoying way that it can be dealt with. That probably was intended to get the Pixie back at this point. We do have the land for Deadly Cover-Up at some point, which should be pretty nice. Go ahead with Fountain Port, get the wrappings out, I suppose. Will at least make our Zahur a bit stronger as well. Maybe he bounces it back to our hand or something, which would be unfortunate. Yeah, this town ain't big enough, so no big shock there. That's really all this deck does, is just, hey, everything is back to hand. I keep replaying the same card 6 times. Very interesting and creative, I know. So on this next turn, we will have 5 mana. We can go Ketramos plus Zahur, unless we want a Deadly Cover-Up for some reason, but honestly, there's not even a good reason to. Returning your own land is silly. Very, very silly in my opinion, but I guess... does he have a choice? Maybe he doesn't have a choice. I don't know how that works. I'll look at the card, I suppose. What does this do? Oh, so you have to do it. Okay, so yeah, he had to do that, I guess. That's fine. Probably will sacrifice Ketramos if he tries to do something with Zahur, just so that I can Curse Cloth Wrappings and get some stuff going. It'll give me a scry, so I'll be able to start seeing something worthwhile here. Of course, he could make me sacrifice creatures or something. We'll see. I don't feel like this player is very familiar with the deck they're playing. That's, I guess, where I'm at right now. Okay. Now let's use Dreams. See if he has any creatures or anything we want to get rid of. Wait until they decide whether that's okay. Alright. So we did get our second wind here. I know this was a bit lackluster, but honestly, the wins have been pretty hard to come by with this deck. I'm going to say again my final thoughts on this deck at the end, but truly, genuinely, if you want to play this deck and have any fun, either one, don't play on Arena because the matchmaker is shit, or two, play best of three because you're at least going to have better odds with the sideboard that I've created. There's just such a significant amount of non-creature decks that you're going to go up against with this deck that it really is hard, so hard to have decent matches in best of one. Alright, we do get to go first, and this looks pretty acceptable. I will take that. Means we've got a pretty good play for this turn. I am okay with land as well. Let's get rid of a pixie. Unfortunately, the meta in this game right now is so boring. Everybody's just doing the same stuff over and over. It's pretty disappointing. Like, despite all these new cards and fun things that can be done, people are still just running like 18 different versions of Pixies and Mono Red. Like, really? You can't do anything else with your life? Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and get Kaya. I think I'm going to have to use her as a hardcore token generator for a while. That's fine. You can keep getting rid of my tokens all you want. So we're definitely... Oh, I can't do it yet. Can't do it yet. Okay, we'll just snare here for now. I was going to say, we definitely want to use Deadly Cover-Up to get rid of This Town Ain't Big Enough. However, not only do I not have enough things in my graveyard, I also don't have enough land. Was that a tap land or something? No, I have 5 land. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Yep, he can return my Kaya now, which is fine. Because she will be back. Now I have 2 of them. I actually kind of hope... Nah, he doesn't. But I was hoping he might have a counterspell there. Let's go ahead and do this. Don't need that. Don't need more land. Let's get This Town Ain't Big Enough out of his graveyard. Can potentially get rid of both of them. I would still like to hit him with Deadly, but... he's going to have to use the level 2 on that now if he wants to keep me from getting it. Yeah. So let's go Demolition Field. And... I think I want to do this again and keep filling my graveyard. Yeah, I don't want land. Get your land out of here. I'm happy to get rid of land at that. So, just be gone. Be gone, land. Blast Ride's a perfectly acceptable way to get rid of that, because it's not dependent on power or toughness. So if he does this town ain't big enough, I can use Deadly Cover-Up to be really obnoxious. Alright, he's not going to do it. So we're going to go with Curse Cloth here. And then we'll do Deadly Cover-Up next time if we get the chance. Okay, nowhere to run is fine. I want to see him do this town ain't big enough to get rid of my Kaya and his stupid little enchantment. But he'll probably do it on his turn if he's going to, so that I can't deadly it. Okay, he's doing that there. He's got a stupid Pixie to return that. Okay. I didn't expect this, but okay. We'll have to see what happens next. I shouldn't have done the Curse Cloth. I really shouldn't have. Pixie's not really a threat to Kaya, though. So he's got to return that to his hand. Yeah, and he does. That's too bad. He's being really smart. I should have gotten rid of this. I'm gonna lose my Deadly Cover-Up, probably, if he has another way to make me discard. I really hope that he doesn't, but... Interesting. Nowhere to run, hitting my spirit. Kai is actually going to be taking some hits now, unfortunately. So definitely losing my Kaya. But I can get rid of his This Town Ain't Big Enough finally, and all of his creatures. So I think I'm okay with this trade.
Stay gone.
Let's go ahead and just get rid of everything in my graveyard that isn't a creature. Keep those gone forever. Now Kai is here to play as well. Or, not Kai, Ketramos. Let's go ahead and draw another card while I'm at it and get the Pixie gone. And gain back a little bit of life. Finally got the engines going too. So, his big mistake was making it to where he couldn't get back that This Town Ain't Big Enough. Now I actually have a chance to have a good match. Yeah, so we won that. That one mistake was all it took for us finally to get ahead. Get rid of This Town Ain't Big Enough from the whole deck. He can't keep blinking back everything. and I got rid of my whole graveyard just to get Ketramos online immediately. I was going to be able to start using Curse Cloth wrappings to get back the Embalmed Ascendant. So sadly, he did quit right when this was about to get fun, but this is finally how this deck is supposed to work. Last match being the best one. Final thoughts, don't play this deck in best of one. If you're going to play this deck on Arena, it'd probably be fun in paper, but if you're going to play this deck on Arena, make sure that you're playing best of 3 standard. It is a very control-oriented deck, creature control-oriented deck at that, so you really, really have to prioritize matchups that are good, and the matchmaker on Arena is just rigged. You will not play against good matchups. In best of 3, it's slightly better, but more important than that, the sideboard that I built for this really makes it more playable. Because I've allotted for enchantment removal, for, you know, getting rid of playing against these very control matchups on the opposite side. It's just that if you play this deck, you're going to be playing against decks that are all tokens or no creatures at all, and so all of this exile removal and all that is just pointless. So yeah, that's my overall thoughts. In the end, this deck is neat. I do really like Ketramos. The only way to really play it effectively and make it decent is going to be in a very control-y type of deck. I did throw in the Curse Cloth wrappings, the zombies and stuff for fun, and they can win the matches on their own. But yeah, you've got to... This is a big struggle. People on Arena are super, super toxic right now. And even this, like 2 of my 3 matches here were against Pixies. Like, there's no fun matchups. Most of the people that you're going up against are going to be playing the same decks over and over that you've seen for the past, like, 2 seasons. Yeah, so that's the downside. But I did think this was fun, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it.